you would have to find water among other things. And so that's kind of crucial. But the other side of it is all this pounding by water molecules destroys structure. And so proteins only last a little while. Red blood cells are about 280 million molecules of hemoglobin, and they last only about 120 days on average before they've accumulated so many defects that the liver and spleen filter them out before they get really bad. And so proteins are destroyed by this. You have to have the motion of water molecules to make interaction and life possible, but that same random motion destroys the structure you need for life. And so life is a juggling act. You have to keep constantly putting living things back together faster than the breakdown processes tear them apart. And so that's kind of a phenomenal thing that you can see. And it's so commonplace, a lot of people forget the significance of it. It also has to do with problems of scale. Some of you may remember, it's pretty old now, but they made it a movie, Fantastic Voyage, by Isaac Asimov, and a little team of scientists is shrunk down to miniature size and injected into the bloodstream. And they navigate the bloodstream in this little tube. What are they, removing a tumor in the brain or something, or a clot? And it's kind of neat science fiction, but it always kind of I don't know, irritate wouldn't be right, but it was kind of comical to me that Asimov would criticize science fiction writers for Star Wars and this and that and the other for not being true to science, and yet his stuff was often way off. If you really did shrink your, and of course there's places where white blood cells all glom on this little thing. If you really did shrink yourself down to that size, nobody would watch the movie, because everything would be going like this. You'd be wanting to grab somebody and stop. But at that size, there'd be this constant random vibratory motion. And bacteria are the size that experience that Brownian motion. And bacteria don't know the difference between up and down. And so bacteria in a solution of water are knocked around by the water molecules so much that they're equally up or down. Well, you say, aren't there bacteria that live in the muck at the bottom? And the answer is yes. Well, how do they know where the bottom is? And the answer is they have little magnets. They have magnets embedded in their cells, sensitive to the magnetic lines of force that curve downward, and they actually swim. That's how they know where down is, and they can actually swim down to get in the muck. They can't just fall down. They have no ability to fall down. And so if we actually shrank ourselves down to the size of bacteria, you would not be sitting in these pews. You would be bouncing off the windows and rafters and floors. Who knows where I'd be? And so it's quite a wild world, at that particular dimension. Okay, well now, let's add another ingredient to things. I'm just here's kind of an average distribution. So I've got, 6 water molecules on the side. And as I mentioned, I've got a semi-permeable membrane here, one that lets these water molecules through, but it doesn't let protein molecules through. And so I would remember to bring a little sack of proteins with me. Okay, so I'm going to drop all the protein molecules in here. And so this side now would represent, with all these proteins in it, this might represent a living cell. It's got water in it, but it's also got some larger organic molecules, proteins and carbohydrates and so on and so forth. And then here's some water molecules outside the cell. So this could be an amoeba in a pond, or it could be a white blood cell in the bloodstream. Are you ready for a quiz? Okay, I'm going to begin to add some temperature. See, we're at absolute zero right now. So I'm going to add some heat, start shaking this around, random, molecular motion. How many, and then there's 2 possibilities, well 3. Well, most of the water molecules wind up on this side where all the proteins are. Well, most of the water molecules on average wind up on this side where there aren't any protein molecules outside the cell or inside the cell. Or, well, water molecules diffuse according to their own diffusion, and they'll be equally on both sides. Okay, ready? How many say that water molecules will accumulate on the side with all the proteins? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. How many say the water molecules will accumulate out here, but it's not nearly as crowded? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15, 16, 17, okay, almost twice as many, maybe 17 or 18. How many of you think water molecules don't care about the proteins? There'll be equal numbers on both sides. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's almost the end of the experiment. Okay, well, maybe I shouldn't have started this now. Let's try the experiment. And if it doesn't, now it worked at home. So if it doesn't work here, boy, it's pretty equally divided. You know, if it doesn't work here, then I'll tell you what should have happened. Okay, let's. Okay, the first time there's only 3 left over here, so presumably there's 9 over here. The water molecules seem to be accumulating on the crowded side, which is a little bit counterintuitive. But maybe I didn't shake right, so we'll keep going. That's a little better for over there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But still over here more than Okay, well, since the experiment worked the way it's supposed to, I'm going to stop now. And at first, it seems a little counterintuitive. You know, this thing is already crowded. Why in the world would you get more water molecules over here and less water molecules out here? And, well, there are a couple of ways of saying that. One is that every substance diffuses from its own high concentration to its own low concentration. And so out here, you know, in ordinary water, the water was 100%. Inside the living cells average about 80% water. And so water would diffuse from whether there's 100% water to where there's only 80% water. And so in a sense, the water molecules are diffusing from their own high concentration, 100%